Thank you, Dodie, for sharing those words with us this morning. Thank you, choir, for singing us into the next section of our service, the message as we hike on with our staff of faith and consider what that means in our lives. So let us settle in and prepare our hearts and our minds as we reflect on God's word and what it says for us today. Let us take a moment of silence. Thank you. Open staff or an umbrella. Perhaps you've heard this story, but considering the heat wave and the drought that we've been having, I thought it was worthy of retelling. It seems that somewhere in the Midwest, there was an awful, awful drought that was having major effects on the farms there and the health of the entire community. I hope we're not heading in that direction, but I'll tell you, when I walk around parts of our farm, the grass is all brittle and crunches under your feet. Anyway, it was decided that the community would join together on a particular afternoon for a prayer vigil, during which they would unite their voices in prayers for rain and an end to the devastating drought that they were experiencing. And the attendance, as you might imagine, was great. People, whether they had faith or not, they were like just filled with this sense of needing to come together and supporting one another, and hey, if it works, this is great, right? So they came together, folks from all around the community, in town and on the edges of town, and people of all ages, little children and older, wiser people, wiser with age. They came together and they began to pray for rain. There was one little girl who stood out among them. And not for any particular purpose, except for a particular reason, except for one thing. She had an umbrella. And when asked, why are you carrying an umbrella? And I can imagine my grandson saying this, well, we're praying for rain and I didn't want to get wet. Such faith. I know as we get older, we get more cynical and skeptical, don't we? Our trust seems to wane in the wake of moments of disappointment or what we perceive have been unanswered prayers. But what if? What if we trusted our needs would be met? What if we were confident that the life force that created us, of whom we refer to as God, would continue creating in us prosperity and wellness? To me, that is what faith is. Trusting the plan of goodness and love in which we were fashioned from the very beginning, and believing that it remains with us throughout our lives. It is the fullness of life. Faith is not about having all the answers or accepting a set of beliefs written down in ancient doctrines. Faith is about asking questions, wrestling and wondering about that which we do not fully comprehend, and finding peace in that place of discovery and exploration. It is in that I believe we witness the truth of the divine revealed again and again. The passages we just heard Dodie share with us include two lines that are probably familiar to many of us here. In Hebrews, now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance of what we do not see. And in Luke, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Both encompass core values of what it means to believe. Having faith in a guiding presence that we may not see, but our souls know. We feel it. We sense it. And finding great worth in the things of the Spirit that are not necessarily tangible, but fulfill an inner drive toward promise, even when the way is difficult, even when it feels untenable. Hang on when the foundation below your feet feels unsupported. Hold on when your foundation trembles with the quaking of uncertainty. Faith, as our quote in the beginning of the bulletin says by Martin Luther King Jr., is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. Faith is stepping out in trust when we can't see around the corner. That's what we say, right? That's what we are supposed to believe, right? We're supposed to bring the umbrella if we're praying for rain, right? But if we don't, does that make us less faithful or unworthy? Does it diminish our faith because we're simply not so sure? People of every age and every time have wrestled with that question. What does it mean to believe, to have faith? It's what lies behind the Hebrew passage today. The author pointing out to the discouraged faithful who are being persecuted to stay the course. Hold on like their ancestors who traveled by faith toward a promised land, a better day. The litany in the Hebrew of the Hebrew ancestors begins with Abraham, or Abram, before his name was changed, who we are told by faith picked up his life and journeyed to an unknown place by an unfamiliar way and without knowing what it all meant. And who by faith trusted in the promise that from him would come descendants that would be more than all the stars that could be counted in the heavens. And Sarah, who by faith held on to the promise of bearing a child, which ultimately happened long after her childbearing years, the story tells us. And by faith, their descendants continued toward that journey toward that promised land. Have you ever set out not fully knowing where you're going? Where the steps you have chosen were leading you? Aiming for a new day, a new life, a better life, a promise of something better? Have you ever done that? Guided by something difficult to express, but you know it's what you need to be doing. There's something in here that's telling you that's moving you forward. Abraham is credited with having faith to take those steps into the unknown, perhaps motivated by such an inner voice. But maybe there is more to the story. We typically think about faith as our belief in God. But I am fascinated by a perspective I read by Michael K. Marsh, who suggested another way to hear the story. He questions, what if it's just the opposite? Think about that. What if it was God's faith in Abraham, that Abraham set out for a new homeland, even when he didn't know where it was going, or what it was, or how he was going to get there, or what would happen and what he would find? You've been in situations, I'm sure, where the affirmation of another bolsters your courage, gives you strength, and you find yourself doing more than you thought you could do because you have that encouragement and that support around you. Someone who stood by you, who supported you, who believed in you, who had faith in you, and you know the difference that it's made. Well, Marsh suggests that maybe it is more than our belief in God, but God's belief in us. God encouraging us, inviting us, desiring connection with us, whether we fully comprehend it or not. It's okay that we don't have all the answers, that we question and we wonder, that our beliefs aren't wrapped up in some neat little package with a bow on it, or that we have it all figured out. I would assume that none of us do. I would suggest that if we think we do, we're missing the fullness of God, the mystery, the continual unfolding of wisdom and truth, that God didn't grow silent a long time ago, but that God indeed is still speaking. So I lean toward Marsh's thoughts that God believes in us just as God set the universe in motion. After all, we've been created in love to love. God's faith in us is about wanting the best for us, yearning for us to be our true selves, that we might be fulfilled. God coaxing us along our life journeys, guided by the Spirit, by our soul voice, established within us from the very beginning, a voice that knows God as the presence of love. And if that is the case, what is God saying to you in this moment? How might God's faith in you be unfolding? If God believes in us, what might that look like? How might God's belief in our ultimate goodness look in facing the issues of these days? The injustices that we see, the cruelty and the hatred, the judgment and ridicule, the disrespect and disharmony toward others and toward the natural world. How might we live into the light we are to be? In the bigger picture, creation is about an expanding motion of energy and light in intricate balance. And we, as part of that creation, have been designed to fit into that unfolding and are destined to fulfill the very essence of divine love that is in us. Whether we comprehend it all doesn't matter. What does matter is embracing the very core of our faith, which is to love God, our Creator, to love our neighbor, which includes all creation, and to love ourselves. That's it. Pure and simple. Imagine if we all took that to heart. Imagine if we found ourselves concerned most about how we personally live that love, how we express it with our lives, without trying to measure up to someone else or pass judgment on another, which is above all else the greatest hang-up to knowing fulfillment. Imagine what it might look like to live love, to breathe it, to be it. In Luke, we are told that where our treasure is, there also will be our heart. Imagine if what we treasure most is living up to God's faith in us to act and to speak and to live into the love that is in us, that is us. Imagine our life pathways, though uncertain about where we are going, yet content in the fullness of love. Maybe most important is not having all the answers about what we believe, but loving our way forward, having faith in what God implanted in our souls from the very start. I brought my umbrella today, not because I have any faith that it's going to rain in the next few days, but as a reminder of God's faith in us to shower the world with the promise of love. Blessings.